I'm Ashin Singh. It's Monday, August 17th. You've got questions and we've got answers. This is Search. We're breaking down what you're asking right now in real time. Let's get right to it. We've got our Maya Ephraim here. She oversees our online search trends. Maya, happy Monday. What are people searching for today?
Hi, Ashan. Devastating news out of Hollywood today after actress Hayden Panettiere passed away to age 36. Searches topped 10 million and are still rising as fans process her sudden death. Beyond her cause of death, people are also looking up her memorable acting career. They're also recalling her personal struggles with postpartum depression, addiction, and the loss of her brother 3 years ago. Turning to the latest on the Iran war, interest spiked after President Trump threatened military action against Oman in a phone interview with media if it interferes with the U.S. naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. The comments sent people to search to look up Oman's location in the Middle East, its role in the conflict so far, and whether the U.S. maintains military bases there. And finally, drivers across the country are looking for more information on flock safety cameras. Ashan, this had hundreds of thousands of searches over the weekend and continues to trend today. Privacy concerns and constitutional questions are driving most of the interest, but people are looking up local laws, how the cameras operate, and why some cities are canceling their contracts.
A lot to get into to start the week. Maya, thank you so much. We'll check back with you in just a bit. Okay, let's dive a little deeper into the story that you guys can't stop searching about, the devastating death of actress Hayden Panettiere. We've got entertainment journalist Anya Lachelle joining us. Anya, thank you so much for being here. We have no official cause of death right now. What are we hearing from parents, from the family of Hayden Panettiere, from police about how she died? What do we know?
Yeah, so here's what we do know. We know that she was found unresponsive at a Greenville, South Carolina apartment yesterday afternoon. She was temporarily staying at this apartment. When medics arrived, she was pronounced dead on the scene and suffered from cardiac arrest. However, like you said, the cause and the manner of her death are still pending further investigation. What we also know is that she was beloved by her family, by her fellow colleagues, and of course, by fans. Her parents, her father, Skip Panettiere, put out a statement saying that she was an incredible light and a force of nature who brought immeasurable love and joy to all who knew her. We also have other celebrities pouring out tributes to her as well, like Viola Davis, who made a post referring to her as an old, wise soul with a deep heart. Another one of her co-stars, Derek Hoff, said that she was so sweet and so kind, and she was actually pregnant with her daughter when she filmed with him. And fans, of course, are saddened and shocked by this news, sharing their nostalgic memories of growing up with her on the screens, especially if you're a millennial. We grew up with her from a child up until just recently this year. She starred in a project that was in theaters this past January.
Yeah, Anya, it is just such tragic news, especially given what you were just saying. We as a generation really did grow up with Panettiere. She had a revealing couple of months leading in the months leading up to her death. She had a memoir come out. She did some recent interviews. People are looking up what actually did she say in those interviews, and what do we know about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So she just came out with a memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning, this past May. And as you mentioned, she was on a press tour promoting this book where she was very vulnerable and candid about her substance addiction struggles, her struggles with postpartum depression after having her daughter in 2014. However, she also shed some light on her aspirations. She aspired to come out with her own production company. She aspired to come out with her own skincare line, jewelry line, lifestyle brand altogether. And so fans were really hopeful to see more of her since she had sort of reemerged in the public spotlight this year, which is another reason why her death is so sudden and so surprising.
Yeah, you mentioned that millennials as a generation grew up with her. It feels like so many people grew up with Hayden Panettiere. For those who are not familiar, just remind us some of the movies and TV shows that she was in and that made her such a presence in Hollywood over the years.
Absolutely. It feels like she's been on our screens, honestly, since the day that she was born. But some of her most iconic roles are Remember the Titans. She also starred in Nashville, where we got to hear her sing. And so she sort of struck us with a new talent in that series. I also loved her in Heroes. I also loved her in the film Bring It On, All or Nothing, where we got to see her dance. So she really was positioning herself to be a triple threat in some of those projects. And like I said, she also starred in the film Sleepwalker that hit theaters this past January. So she's been starring in quite a lot. She also did some soap opera work as well. So she really did a lot of work for fans of all generations to be familiar with her.
Just truly so sad. And to think the end of this week would have been her 37th birthday. Anya Lachelle, thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's get to President Trump threatening to bomb Oman over the Strait of Hormuz. Our foreign correspondent, Tom Sufi-Burge, is on the story for us. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Why is President Trump saying that he would bomb Oman?
Yeah, Ashton, it's a very good question. I mean, one important thing to bear in mind here is that Oman has been a key negotiator between Iran and the US on trying to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Oman and Iran hold land either side of that narrow shipping lane, and we know that Iranian and Omani officials have been discussing a potential plan which, if implemented, could allow both countries to charge tolls on ships passing through the strait. Now, this is actually the second time that President Trump has threatened military action against Oman. He made a similar threat back in May. It appears that reports that Oman and Iran could be trying to create a new toll system in the Strait of Hormuz is what is angering President Trump.
Yeah, Tom, give us a little bit of a geopolitical lesson here, because we're seeing a lot of searchers wonder, where actually is Oman, and is it actually a U.S. ally?
Yeah, Oman is very much a long-standing US ally. It's situated to the south of Iran, Ashen, east of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. But one piece of geography is crucial here. Oman controls a tiny slice of territory separated from the rest of its mainland just above the UAE. And it's that slice of land which sits on the southern end of the Strait of Hormuz. And that is why Oman is such an important player in terms of the talks about reopening the strait.
Yeah, Tom, what's our understanding of how Oman was actually affected and is actually affected by the war that's going on in Iran right now? And how strong is the military? A lot of people on search are looking that up.
Yeah, so I'll take the second part of the question first,
Sure.
Ashen. So Oman's foreign and security policy over recent decades has been based on the principle of neutrality. And that means that up until recently, like some other countries in the Gulf, Oman has avoided getting involved in regional wars. So Oman's military, in the modern sense, remains largely untested. The other thing to bear in mind is that Oman's landmass is roughly the size of New Mexico, but it only has a population of 5 million people. So according to analysts, the Omani military only has about 42,000 active troops. And yes, like all Gulf countries, Oman has been significantly impacted by the war. However, Iranian drone and missile attacks have targeted Oman less than other Gulf states. And because most of Oman's coastline is east of the Strait of Hormuz, it is not as affected as other countries in the region in terms of the blockade in the waters around there.
And Tom, before I let you go, you said that the U.S. is a longstanding ally of Oman. A lot of people on search, they're wondering, are there any U.S. military bases on Oman?
Yeah, pretty quick answer, Ashton. So there are no permanent US combat bases in Oman, but the US military, under an agreement from 1980, does have access to key Omani airfields and port infrastructure for things like logistics and maintenance.
Tom Sufi-Burge, thanks so much for breaking this down for us, man. Appreciate you. And time to tee up the growing debate over those flock cameras being seen across the country. Peter Haralambis has been following this for us. Peter, thanks so much for being here, man. A lot of search interest about just what these flock cameras actually are and who's using them and for what.
Yeah, so Flock is a Georgia-based company that is operating across the country thousands of these automated license plate readers. What they're doing that's kind of new and innovative, is pairing this technology of having these infrared cameras that can see license plates from up to about 60 feet away with a nationwide AI-powered database. It basically allows law enforcement to cross-reference any kind of information about outstanding warrants, for example, with this massive database and track individuals who they might be looking into or who might be have open warrants, for example. At this point, we've seen this kind of technology rolled out by local police departments. We've seen college campuses use it. We've also seen private communities use it as well, touting really the law enforcement benefits and saying that it can help reduce crime overall.
Yeah, Peter, but these flock cameras have been the subject of so much criticism lately. I think I can't go online without seeing someone talking about flock cameras. What are the critics actually saying about how they work?
That's right. I mean, we're seeing this nationwide movement against Flock, this deflock movement, and critics have pointed out a few things. First, they say this technology is kind of leading us to this whole concern about nationwide surveillance. Beyond that, they say that it can be used by law enforcement without a warrant to track people. And then on top of that, there's the slightly more political concern with the increase of federal immigration enforcement. There's been this concern that Flock cameras can be used by ICE, for example. Now, Flock has pushed back against against that. They say they don't work with ICE themselves. That being said, if a local police department is using a flock camera and they share information with federal law enforcement, that is an instance where we could theoretically see flock technology being used to enhance the federal government's immigration enforcement across the country.
Peter, we're seeing a lot of these questions being asked on Search. Let me see if you can answer this for us. Do the flock cameras actually violate the Fourth Amendment? Do we know that?
So from the cases we've seen thus far, no. Just because at the end of the day, if you're on a public road with a license plate, there isn't really an expectation of privacy. That being said, again, with this nationwide movement against flock, we're seeing organizations like the ACLU push back and try to encourage local governments to cancel their contracts with flock or just be more skeptical about this technology overall.
Seeing a ton of reports also online, Peter, about flock cameras being vandalized in several cities. Are there penalties for vandalizing flock cameras?
There are. I mean, depending on where you are in the country, it could be a misdemeanor, it could be up to the felony. One thing to consider is that these cameras are pretty expensive. We're talking about a few $1,000s. So the penalty for vandalizing one of them could be pretty severe.
Peter, appreciate you for the context, man. Thank you so much. We just ran through your top searches, but what else is on your timeline? Let's get back to Maya. Maya, what else is trending today?
Ashan, meteorologists are warning that a potentially historic Super El Niño is rapidly taking shape with far-reaching U.S. and global impact. According to NOAA's latest forecast, there is a 69% chance of a historic event between the months of October and December. The potential event would exceed the strength of all previous El Niño events on record. And ice cream maker Rebel Creamery filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy following a court loss to competitor Van Leeuwen. A federal judge ordered Rebel to pay nearly $24 million in damages for intentionally copying Van Leeuwen's minimalist packaging and pastel colors, forcing the brand to seek bankruptcy protection to reorganize.
Oof, tough day for Rebel. Maya, appreciate you very much. Coming up, one search always leads to another. We've got a trending topic, but that's just the surface. We're talking about the lawsuit targeting early access to the president's social media posts. The Spiral is up next. Welcome back to Search. Today's top searches are only part of the story. A simple scroll can sometimes take you down a deep rabbit hole. Time now for The Spiral. All right, and you guys are asking questions about a lawsuit against Trump media. We're following your clicks and curiosity, and it looks like you guys want to know about early access to the president's social media posts and how politics are creeping into prediction markets. So let's break it down. We got Mike Dubusky up first, then Robin Hanson. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Let's start with that new lawsuit. Our tech guy, Mike Dubusky, joins me to break it all down. Mike, make this make sense, because Trump Media Company says it's offering early, exclusive access to the president's posts on U.S. policy. So who's suing him over that, and why?
Yeah, two nonprofit news organizations, Ashan, The Intercept and the Freedom of the Press Foundation. These two organizations allege that this plan violates, for one, the First Amendment, which, according to this lawsuit, guarantees equal access to the president's public announcements. Seemingly, this idea to allow some people early access to some of those statements for a cost, seemingly, according to these plaintiffs, violates that part of the Constitution. They also say it violates the Fifth Amendment, which, again, according to this lawsuit, they say prohibits the charging of unreasonable sums that cannot be justified to offset the cost of government benefits. So a couple of different claims here coming from these two independent nonprofit news organizations,
kind
media
of
organizations.
An unexpected, unprecedented conundrum, but a true sign of the times, Mike. So how much is Trump Media actually charging for this early access? What is it saying about the lawsuit?
Quite a bit of money, about $100,000 in some cases, and that gets you access to what's called the Truth API. This gets kind of technical, but basically it's a technology that allows the president's social media platform to integrate with like financial data terminals and things like that, as well as news feeds. Basically, this grants early access to the president's posts on his social media network before they are made available to the general public. And the Trump administration, when asked for comment, did not respond to our request for a comment. They have not formally responded in court either.
All right, Mike, dude, I'm going to ask the quiet part out loud because this includes posts from Trump about U.S. policy, decision on war, tariffs, and more. Have legal experts actually said whether this could be illegal or not?
Yeah, that's the key question, right, Ashen? The president has oftentimes used his social media platform to announce major policy decisions, right? In October of last year, President Trump posted about a potentially massive increase in tariffs on China, which some say wiped out, huge valuation on the stock market. Now, the White House says that this is just the president's commitment to transparency. That is what the press office of the White House has said. However, critics say this new strategy basically holds back on the most up-to-date information, keeps that information away from all but those who are willing to pay out this huge sum of money. And according to this new lawsuit, Ashen, that violates the Constitution.
Mike, I'm kind of incredulous here because Trump media says that selling fast access to traders is common in its industry. But what are we hearing from legal experts as if this qualifies as insider trading at all?
Yeah, that's exactly what legal experts and congressional Democrats have alleged here, that this is basically pay to play, right? This is classic insider trading. However, it is also important to note, Ashen, that insider trading typically involves information that is not available to the general public. These are social media posts that are available to the public just for those people who are willing to pay up for it to get that early access. So there might be a little bit of nuance there. It is certainly true, though, that early access to information like this is hugely valuable in the professional trading world. We're talking about usually information like, shareholders' information or things related to supply chains that can, inform trading decisions on Wall Street. The president is a public employee. His statements are ostensibly in the public interest. I think what the open question here will be is whether this is just a violation of norms, something that we haven't seen from a president before, or whether this actually crosses the line into being something that's illegal.
This is just fascinating stuff. Mike, appreciate you, man. Thanks for breaking this down. Let's bring in prediction market expert now, Robin Hanson. Robin, thank you for being here. Where do you sit on all this? Do you think politicians, let alone the president, should be allowed to participate and make profits off predictions related to politics when they can actually influence laws and policy, as we know?
In this particular case, I'd say it's a bad look. Now, as an economist, I can't speak to the law. I can't tell you what's the courts are going to rule here. But we economists look at two different things. We say, okay, what's overall good for the world? That's called economic efficiency. And then we look at who gets the gains. So clearly, this is a move to maybe use a loophole to grab some gains. And Trump is apparently pretty good at that. He's looking for ways to grab gains. And with any executive relationship, we always have to be clear about when is the executive allowed to get gains. So most executives of most things they get a salary, but they also get to give speeches, maybe get to be on other boards. So there's some ambiguity in what kind of gains an executive is allowed to give. But this is clearly beyond what most executives ever get. So this is a bit of a pitch for something new. And, we should ask, is it a good idea? Now, I don't see much of an advantage to it. I don't see how the world gains from this, but I'm not that clear the world loses. But what is pretty clear is he gets more this way.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the way he's trying to grab some gains from his position as president. So we just need in general to rule and decide whether this looks good or not. It doesn't look that good to me. I don't see a way that this really helps much. Maybe it doesn't hurt much, but it doesn't help.
Yeah, it feels like we're in uncharted territory here, Robin. Have we actually seen politics and prediction markets crosshairs already, even before this Trump media announcement?
Well, definitely, there are markets about politics, and then people care to look at the markets to guess about politics, and then people who have positions of power in government have sometimes influenced the markets or traded in the markets. So that's a key question. Many people are asking about the appropriateness of that relationship. I would just point out that journalism in general has had these problems for a long time. People do things in the world, including in government, in order to get favorable coverage in the news media. And then people in, media have enticed people to reveal secrets to the media in order to get more, favorable coverage in many ways from the media. So this is just a general problem with information institutions in society. In general, it's good to get information, but there are some issues on the margin of, how that affects organizations and various changes the incentives of people to do things.
Yeah, Robin, are there steps that prediction markets can take to better prevent insider trading of any kind? Like, how do you regulate any of this?
Well, we do, in fact, regulate insider trading, and most of the organizations have insider trading regulation. The government does. Most other financial markets actually have insider trading regulations, and they're pretty severe in the sense that most people are scared of them and trying to like not appear like they're doing any insider trading. But actually, in fact, insider trading is rampant even in ordinary financial markets. So that's just a thing we've lived with for at least a century. So, you shouldn't be too concerned maybe that it's continuing on in these markets compared to the fact that it's just always been there. Look, government decisions have moved ordinary financial market prices for a very long time. And in fact, people have gotten early access to government decisions in order to benefit in financial markets. That's just been going on for a long time, and that's part of the way the world's worked.
It's just a new game in a different arena. Robin, thank you so much for joining us. Still ahead, it might be at the top of your feed, but what's the vibe? We've got your top pop culture and entertainment searches, including the Jonas Brothers planning to turn up the heat on their next tour. We got the Vibe Check is next. All right, it's time now for our Vibe Check, a look at what's buzzing in entertainment and pop culture. Roxy Diaz is out today, but I got you covered for more on what's trending. Starting with a new chapter in the DC Studio universe. HBO premiered its new superhero series, Lanterns, last night, starring Kyle Chandler as an older version of Hal Jordan. He's an Air Force veteran and the first human to serve in the Green Lantern Corps. The series is also starring Aaron Pierre, who plays new recruit John Stewart, a former Marine mentored by Hal, who's positioned to be his successor as the Guardian of Sector 2814. The new show comes 15 years after the release of the live-action Green Lantern film. And the Jonas Brothers are burning up, the band announcing the Burning Up Tour all over again, following an overwhelming response to their sold-out Madison Square Garden shows kicking off later this week. Kevin, Joe, and Nick will continue the fun starting September 25th in Boston, the second stop of their 45-city nationwide tour. Special guests include their younger brother Franklin Jonas, Magnus Farrell, and All Time Low. In a statement, the Jonas Brothers says their last tour reminded them how much their music means to them and their fans, where tickets go on sale August 21st. And Johnny Depp is reportedly in talks to return as Jack Sparrow for Pirates of the Caribbean 6. That's according to the movie franchise producer Jerry Bruckheimer. He told Deadline at the latest D23, the ultimate Disney fan event, that a screenplay is currently in the works, adding that conversations have been had with Depp about reprising his role as Jack Sparrow. Through 5 movies, the Disney live-action franchise has earned $4.5 billion at the global box office. A reminder to our viewers that Disney is the parent company of ABC News. And some delicious news for fans of Red Lobster. The restaurant chain is bringing back its endless shrimp experience at participating locations for a limited time starting today. Dining customers can mix and match 5 flavors. The offering comes after the company says its last endless shrimp offering exceeded expectations. Now, the restaurant CEO, who stepped in to revive the company after bankruptcy 2 years ago, says they proved that they could bring it back, and for a limited time, they have. All right, I'm Ashin Singh, and this is Search on ABC News Live, where your questions meet real answers. We'll leave you with what's trending right now on abcnews.com. You can scan that QR code right there to catch up. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Be safe.